Hello and welcome back to You're the Artist Studio. I hope you guys have weathered the winter storm, if you had it where you live, which was most of the country. We did pretty well here. Didn't really get much of anything in East Tennessee. Anyway, we're painting our Smoky Mountain Starry Night, and it's appropriate since it is a winter painting, snow. So we're going to get started with a 1-inch brush. And it's a fairly simple palette of white, black, light blue, navy blue, or turquoise color, and a yellow, golden yellow. And so we're just going to paint the sky. I did sketch some of this out. We have this coming up for a paint party, so wanted to make it as simple as possible. And I'm going to wet my brush a little bit so it flows a little better. So I'm going to start off with a darker blue or a navy blue. Yeah, I was away for 2 weeks and came back to some crazy winter weather. Fortunately, like I said, it wasn't as crazy for us as it was for other people. And I want to kind of lighten this up as it goes down. Light blue and kind of blend that in. I'm going to keep this circle here. It's just easier. This is where the moon will be. If you paint over it, that's fine. Just let it dry before you come back in with some white and yellow for the moon. I'll wet my brush a little bit again. And I'm going to bring some of that dark back down into the light blue. Just kind of blend them, smooth them out a little bit, so it's a more smoother transition between the two. And I'm using a reclaimed canvas that I gessoed, so it's not flowing as smoothly as a brand new one does, but for our purposes, it's fine. I'm going to tap into this teal just a little bit because I want it to be a little soft yellow at the bottom, so I'm going to try to avoid it going directly into the blue. Clean my brush pretty good. And I'm going to take some white and a little bit of yellow. Blend them together a little bit. Just kind of run that down at the bottom here by the mountain range. I got a little sloppy. I got some drops of blue, but that's okay. I'll take this clean brush. Just wipe it off. And just kind of blend these together. I'm trying to avoid too much green. That's why I threw the teal in there. Doing all right there. And you're going to cover a lot of this up with trees. So don't worry about it being too smooth, too perfect. None of this needs to be perfect. Okay. So we want that to dry a little bit. So we're going to move on to the next thing that I want to dry. Well, you know what? Since I have the blue, I'm going to take this dark blue because I want this to dry too somewhat. Just kind of running along the edge of where the riverbank is. Don't worry about being perfect. A lot of that we're going to cover up some of this and add to it and just kind of get the general shape of the creek that's running off towards the mountains. I don't have to worry about it being perfect just yet. We will be fixing this later. I just wanted to get the general shape, basically fill it in. Don't worry about it being solid. We're going to be adding different colors to it. We're going to be adding ripples, white, snowbanks, all that. So let's add our background trees. And they're going to be kind of simple, a little simplistic. Which I have covered mine up, but that's okay. I'll just kind of, I can see that. Basically, we just want a very simple, basic tree shape like this. We're going to come back over this and add tons of white snow to it. This is just saying this is where it is. It's all good. So just push it out to one side. You want it thinner at the top, fatter at the bottom, like a typical tree. Just peek at my reference photo for a sec. And we're going to have the bigger one over here. And I'm using the medium round brush for this. And basically, I'm just starting from the center and just pushing it out. Don't worry about it being perfect. But we want to do this now so that when we add the white to it, it'll be dry and it'll not smear and look gray. And we're going to add another one like right around here. Just start at the center. and push it out. All right, we're gonna come back to the trees. There's many more trees to do, but I want to put in the base layer of everything so far first. So now we're gonna come in and paint the snow. So I'm gonna take some white and move it over to this light blue, and I'm gonna mix some white, blue, and light to make a very light blue, or at least a lighter light blue. We're gonna come in and paint in the snow. I'm trying not, because my black is still wet, I'm trying not to hit that. But right now we're just filling in space, and we're gonna come in and refine all this afterwards. Like I said, right now, don't worry about it being perfect. We're just kind of saying this is where this is and that is where that is. And then we're going to come back in and refine. Get our basic placement down. Now what I think I'm gonna do is we're gonna work on the mountain some. Now I'm gonna take and go a little bit different direction. We're doing the light blue, and you can mix, if you want to, both the dark blue and the light blue together with some white. Kind of what I did. I pulled a little bit from this light blue and a little bit from that to make maybe a more purpley shade of light blue. We're going to kind of paint in the mountains. And get their basic shape. We're going to come back in with some white. We just need to say, oh, you're here. We know you're here. Got some black on my brush. There we go. All right, so for the most part, the canvas is covered in paint. We got a few spots I didn't want to get too close to wet paint. So what we're going to do is we're going to start on the sky. So we're going to go back to that light blue color again, the white and the light blue. If you need to get a second plate to mix things on, if it gets too crazy, you don't want too much paint on your brush. So like I have way too much paint on my brush here. And we're just gonna kind of do our like swirls for, just gonna lightly So you can see what I'm doing is I'm holding my brush at the very tip. That allows me to be a lot looser. And I'm almost debating about going with the smaller brush. Alright, so we want to kind of go around the moon. And we're just going to do short little dashes in a circular, very loose circular motion. And we can even come in with a little bit of white and teal, which I'm going to do. Like I said, this does not have to be perfect. It does not have to be a certain. Just have fun with it. All right, so we're going to kind of come in here with a. So my brush is, I'm using an older brush. It's not the best. But in a way, I kind of like the wide stroke that it gives me. We're going to kind of bring that around like this. Now, just for kicks and giggles, I'm going to pull out the little brush, the detail brush. And again, same thing, I'm holding it at the edge, the back of my brush, so I can make really loose strokes. I'm using, I know it looks white on here, but it's the light blue and the white mixed together. And if, like, for some reason, like you think, like I think, it might be a little too white here. So I'm gonna come in with some light blue and dull it down a little bit. There is no right, there is no wrong, especially with this. I'm just coming in with some light blue and dulling down some of what looks very white. And just have fun with it. I know some people told me they thought this one was going to be hard. It's really not. I'm just going to kind of go with another whole circle thing here. I'd like to tighten this up a little bit. I think I went a little too heavy here, so I'm going to come back in with some dark blue. I'm just going to tighten that up a little bit. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is you can just kind of be like, I got too much paint there. Come in with the darker blue and just cover some of it up. Strokes are too fat. Sorry, come in with the little brush and just kind of separate them a little bit. It's all good. It's all fun. Especially this kind of painting. I mean, this is not meant to be perfection. This is meant to be fun and expressive. All right. So I'm going to clean my brush really, really good. And I'm going to go back to that white and yellow mixture. I'm going to mix some white and the yellow together. I'm going to start painting a circle on here. You may want to take A little of the darker yellow on the outside, a little more of the lighter yellow on the inside. And soften it up, a little bit of yellow on the outside of it, just to make it look soft, glowy. I want it to look glowy. Soften my edges a little bit. I'm going to take my little brush. I'm going to add some of that white and yellow mix to some of these swirls. So when you can take a color like that, like the yellow and the white and yellow mix, and move it here and there, it kind of makes it all kind of cohesive. So I'm just adding a little here and there. A little more on the outside of this. And then you can take some white and some, like this is white and yellow, and I'm just going to add stars. Use your small detail brush to dip it in. You can use the back of the brush to dip that into. And we'll just get this guy all squared away here. Now I mostly use some of those yellow. I'll show you how I dip the back of the brush. That's the white. I'm going to add some stars. I'm just going to play around with this just a little bit. All right. So we'll leave that alone. So now I'm going to take I'm just going to do the mountains and get them done. So we're going to take that light blue. Remember how we used, again, it's up to you if you want to just use light blue or the darker blue with some white. But now I need it lighter. So we're going to create some white highlights. And we're going to make those mountains look by adding some white or some very, very light blue lighter than that. and just to one side and kind of make it go like there's ridges and stuff. I'll put a few streaks of white in here. Well, just add a few, just a smidge of the darker blue here and there. And this is one that you can totally play with, some lighter, some darker. But you definitely want one side of the mountain to be lighter than the other, much what I'm doing here. So this is the side that's in shadow, and that's the lighter side. All right, and those we can touch up again later. At least we got them down here. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna go ahead and create our tree line. So I'm gonna create another smaller tree over here. You can put your trees wherever. I just want one who's pushed back a little bit and smaller, so it's set further back. I'm hoping my head's not in your way. And again, just start from the center and push them out. I'm using a smaller brush because I'm gonna push him off the canvas there. We're gonna do a bunch of little silhouette trees. So basically, if you want, just make a bunch of lines, making them go smaller and smaller as you get down further and further away. And just lightly, same thing. Just kind of start from the center and pull them out. But these are far away, so you don't need much detail of any. We'll just stop there at the water's edge. You can just make some lines like that. That's fine. This is supposed to look like a bunch of trees going off into the distance. And then we're going to come back in over here and do the same thing. little trees far away. And as we come closer, so I'm just making these little lines. And they're just going to get a little bigger as we get closer. Before I finish that, I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to make another little tree that is pushed back further than this one, but closer than all those. And if I want to, we don't want it to come down as far because it's pushed back further. I can create one over here too. Because why not? Also, don't go as far as that, but you can always bring this guy out further too. And you see, like there, don't worry about that. We'll clean that up. You know, if you come down off of your little line here, your line of trees, we can clean up anything. Okay. So I'm gonna just kind of shape some of these trees just a wee bit. Just need it to make it look like a distant tree line. And try and make it, don't make it too consistent. Like, it needs to go and kind of go up in a fairly consistent, but you can have some that are shorter, some that are taller, as long as the general line itself is going up. I know I'm not the best example of that. You can have just some straight lines without detail, especially towards the bottom here where they're further away. Alrighty, so now what we're gonna do, we're gonna let those dry. We're gonna start coming in, I think, with some of our white. I need to put some fresh white down just a wee bit. So when we make our snow, we want it to be, you're like, why is it blue? Well, that's for like the shadow over the snow. So you're gonna want, so let's just start here. We're just gonna, you want some of that shadow, the blue, to be on the underside of the snow. And so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna kind of make streaks right now, or little clumps of snow. And we'll come back in and refine that. But leave some of that blue showing through. Because we may come in with a darker blue here and there. And just make little wavy lines of white. Just to kind of show where the snow is. But leave some of that blue. we'll come back in and fix some of this up. All right, so one of the reasons we did these foreground trees first is because I wanted them to dry. And this is kind of the fun part. We'll let that dry a little bit. We're going to come in and we're going to add plenty of snow to these. And keep in mind, the branches are going to go like this, and they may come around like that. So you're going to come around the tree. You may have some breaks in there, around the front of the tree. Big old things of snow. So we're just going to make little layers, basically. Don't make it too even, because again, tree branches are not necessarily even. That you can let some of the black show through. So this is the tree in front, so it's okay if it goes over this tree behind it. And feel free to. Alright, so we got like a lot of snow on that. We're going to do the same to this one. Now, if you want, you can tinge your snow, like say on one side of the tree, add a little blue to it, like a light blue, like white and blue together, to give it almost a shadow, like it's darker on that side. You don't have to do that, and that could be something we save for the end. Just keep in mind, keep your light source in mind, which is over here, so the darker shade would be over there. Nope, I'm not going to take a sip. Left my drink up on the other side of the room. All right, so we're going to come in and create a few little like shadow areas. So keep in mind, like, so where the snow is like kind of coming out and bumping out into the water, which we'll fix the water too. Then the other side will be shadow. Keep in mind the light's coming from over here. And you can come in with some other blue. And give that snow a look that it is thick and dense. And come back in with some pure white over top of that. To tone it down a little, but keep some of it there. All right, so we're going to come in on this riverbank, and I'm just going to kind of create little, like it's not as smooth. You know, it's coming down and it's hard to explain. Like there's a bank. I'm just going to make it darker along the edges, basically. And I'm also going to define this where it runs along there. And I think over here, I'll just bring this in a bit. And honestly, just play with this as much as you want to. Keep in mind, if you don't like what you're doing, you can just paint over it. But I'm going to kind of make the edges a little dark on this side as well. And one of the things I'm going to do now, let that dry a little. I'm going to come in with this like teal color that I have. So with the water, you're going to want to make vertical strokes. I may go use my smaller brush. You may want to take you want to create like ripples. And the best way to do that is really just vertical strokes that don't need to be perfectly straight. So what I'm going to do is down the center of this, I'm going to kind of come in with the teal. Till I get to about halfway up. And I'll keep the teal going. I'm keeping that darker blue in the center and on the edges. Now what I'm going to do is come in with some of that gold and white. I'm just making about there. I had a little bit of white in the center there. Now I'm going to take some little bits of teal. This is something that just takes a little practice and playing around. Like I said, if you don't like what you've done, let it dry and paint over it if you're using acrylic paints. And that's the beautiful thing about acrylic paints. So now I'm going to come back in here with some of the darker blue and just kind of make some ripples. Water's tricky, but it's really not as hard as it looks. All right, I'm going to leave that for the moment. I think what I'll do is come in with a little bit more darker down here. Less teal. But let a little bit shine through. And I'm kind of softening this up. I don't have much paint on this brush, just more water. And that's another thing you can. Pretty much take the paint off your brush, just put some water, and you can smooth things out. Just a little smoother. Okay, so for now that's good. I know I've been all over the place with this. That's I decide. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back in with some white, and we're going to do the same thing to this tree that we did to the trees over there. Come in with a shadow. So I'm kind of combining the dark blue and the white and the light blue. And I'm just kind of creating some random shadows in here. So it should look kind of like this. So just create some, and just streaks going this way. Some shadows. And then you'll want to come in with some pure white. You can make it look as fluffy as you want. Like I'm just kind of circular motion on top of that. Leave some of those shadows, especially where they seem to make sense. Which would be on the bottom of like a snowbank. So here it would be whiter on top and shadow the darker blue underneath. And I'm using a medium round brush for this. You can use a smaller brush. At least for most of you, you've recently seen snow, and so this is not like such a foreign thing. Although some of you may not have. But even the week I left, it even snowed in Florida. I'll leave that kind of darker because there's more of a shadow from the tree. Do the same thing on this side. And then we can add a little snow too. Some of these background trees, or at least the ones that are not in the foreground, but this, of course, why wouldn't they have any snow on them? Not too much paint on my brush. And don't worry about those trees. So now we want to add like little snow covered rocks. So basically little circles on the edge of the water, wherever you want, as many or as few as you want. Trying to stagger them out. They can be roundish or longish. Right now we'll just make them white. If you're making them in the distance, make them small. Bigger when you're closer up. So I'll make him bigger. And that's enough of that. And so what we'll just do is I'm just going to come in with the tiniest bit of black just along the bottoms. Or you can come in with the dark blue. I want them to kind of stand out a little bit. And so I've chosen to come in with the black because it might stand up against the dark blue a little bit. You can even come in some black on some of these little, like back in here where the water kind of goes off into a all right, and at this point, really just come back in and do whatever you think. If you want to add more stars, if you want to add a little bit more white to the water, or more blue or teal or yellow. I think I might come in with just a little bit of yellow to over here. The reflection of that moon. If you want to hit up the mountains with a little bit more lighter color or darker color. Or if you want to come in and smooth out some lines or thin out some lines. But at this point, I mean, you're pretty much done, except for anything you may want to touch up. So you may want to come in with some let's see, we'll come in with a little bit of blue because the back side of this tree is in the shadow. And just darken that. These ones were already kind of dark. Not such bright white. Anywhere you think needs more shadow. Just have fun with it. I might come in here with just a few little ripples. We want to fix this little area here. There. All right, and there we go. That's our Smoky Mountain Starry Night. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was fun. It's not hard, and we'll see you next time. Just don't forget, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comment section, and I'll get this posted as soon as I can. I'm way behind on that because, well, I was gone for over 2 weeks, had paint parties on a cruise ship, which was fun. And but I'll try and get back in here with a bunch more stuff in the near future. All right, well, I appreciate you watching. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. And if you're new, welcome. You're the Artist Studio, and I'll just like walk you through painting step by step. Or you feel free, if you want to stop it and catch up or watch it all the way through, then paint it yourself, however you want to do it. But I'm always available for questions if you feel free to ask. All right, you guys have a great night. Thank you again for watching. Take care.